Picture still very ripe. You look at that bottom column there. That is the Packers. With a win, they're in, but they play a Bears team that played really well last week. And there is some NFC South intrigue.
Yep.
You know, the Buccaneers should just beat the Panthers, right? That's no.
Sure.
Baker Mayfield's coming in banged up. It might be Kyle Trask. We'll see. And if that happens, Atlanta and New Orleans gets real interesting. Let's see the AFC real quick as we break it down. Ravens are set. They're good. But the Dolphins sure aren't. A win, they're the 2 seed. A loss, they get bumped down to the 6, and they head to Arrowhead next week. Good luck, folks. And then there's a real quagmire with the AFC South. The winner of the Titans-Colts goes to the playoffs in some capacity, but if the Jaguars lose to the Titans, they could be out. And then the Titans-Texans winner can win the division, be hosting a playoff game against the Browns next week.
To use a Jerry Jones term, it got fuzzied up there with the playoff picture. It's time for a round of Mad Minute ahead of the Week 18 lineup. We're going to start with the Steelers taking on the Ravens. The Steelers are looking for a playoff spot, and the Ravens are resting their starters. So the #1 seed all locked up for the AFC. Peter, where do you go?
It's not necessarily a Steelers win just yet. And I think Jason took us through the history of this. The last Ravens dream season was 2019. They were the 1 seed. They were rolling. The Steelers played them in the final week of the year. And the Ravens rolled out a backup, Robert Griffin III, and all their backups, and were resting. And they beat the Steelers. And in this case, Snoop Huntley's the quarterback for the Ravens, and Snoop Huntley is on a free agent contract.
Yeah.
Snoop Huntley would love to have a Matt Flynn day, I'll tell you that, which means in the final week of the season, put up huge numbers and put on some tape and maybe get a contract next offseason. Snoop Huntley is not going to lay down.
Look out.
And this pen is broken.
Wow, it went everywhere. That was gorgeous. It was like Sonic the Hedgehog with his rings.
Drake's coming in hard today. Oh,
Snoop
my
Huntley
goodness,
takes.
Snoop Huntley. I love it. I'm looking at Mason Rudolph on the other side. Since he's been the quarterback, they've been over 30 points a game. I want to see if he can keep that rolling. But then also, Shrugs, you said this, that the Ravens on defense, they're leader in points per game, takeaways, and sacks. They could be the first team in NFL history to do that. Would be really cool.
Steelers get off to a fast start.
Yeah.
I feel like the Ravens, if you get down in the second half, all right, it's fine. We're good. If it's close, like, let's steal this win. But if it's 21-10 going to the fourth quarter, it's a wrap. Get off to a fast start, you'll win the game.
No one wanted to snap any more inanimate objects during that round of Mad Minutes. All right, next up, you can break your coffee cup next. The Cowboys face the Commanders with a win. The Cowboys clinched the NFC East and the 2 seed in the NFC. Jason, where do you go?
I look at the Commanders. We just talked about Bill Belichick, and you mentioned Ron Rivera. This is probably going to be his last game as a head coach. How do they rally? We've already penciled the Cowboys in of winning this game, winning the division. Could somehow the Commanders under Ron Rivera go in a surge and win this football game? I don't think so, but let's see what they're able to do in possibly his last game.
Yeah, Cowboys just execute.
Yeah.
Get the job. Don't give us anything to talk about. I don't need the shot after the game of Jerry surrounded by 56 different microphones. Just win the game 27-16, and then let's figure out how we're going to win that divisional round. This is a take care of business type week.
The last time we saw these teams, the Cowboys were just blowing them out on Thanksgiving. Deron Bland was jumping into the kettle, then Ferguson was jumping into the kettle, then Dak was eating a turkey leg with about 12 minutes left to go. I think the Commanders players have some pride. I don't know what version. They've lost 7 straight games, and I don't know what we see from them. To your point, though, the most important thing for the Cowboys, win, yes, secure that too. Don't get hurt.
Yeah.
No injuries. I wouldn't be surprised if we don't see many Cowboys.
You want to knock on some particle board under here?
There it goes.
Ooh, okay, part of
And they're on the road, too.
All right, next up, curious, a quarterback case for the Buccaneers.
What's curious
right now
with the okay.
Yeah. They're taking on the Panthers. The Bucs will clinch the NFC South with a win, which would be their 3rd straight division title, Kyle, but they might not have Baker Mayfield.
Panthers, unbelievable stat I saw. They have not had a fourth quarter lead all season, and they've won 2 games. They've never been up in the fourth quarter.
Behind.
Bizarre thing on the Panthers. Listen, the game makes me a little nervous. I like the Bucs. I like Baker. This is a terrifying game in the sense that, oh my God, don't drop the ball here. But Baker's banged up. You got the rib thing. It seems like a grit special for him. Just go out. I don't care if it's 3-0. Whatever you have to do to win this game, because if you lose, Peter, this would be in the all-time top 10 worst last season collapses ever. You'll be on the special, and all the guys that always do it, you'll be there.
Yeah, Nathan Poole caught that pass in 2003 for a 3-12 Cardinals team to beat a Vikings team that needed to win it in, and that was in 2003, and we still talk about it on the show. Don't lose to the Panthers. Take care of your business. I don't care if it's Kyle Trask. Kyle Trask should be able to beat the Panthers the way the Panthers have played the last few weeks. That said, this could get real interesting. If they lose, I believe the winner of Saints-Falcons, the Falcons could very potentially have a home playoff game despite their effort last week in Chicago.
I love that. Me and Shregs pulled up to NFL Films this morning. There was a gentleman outside with a sign yelling Antoine Winfield was a Pro Bowl snub. That was at 6 o'clock in the morning. Yes, he had a Levante David jersey on. He wanted us to know, Winfield, I agree with you. Winfield should be in the Pro Bowl. Let's see how these Buccaneers go out and play in this one.
That was interesting for you guys to experience that this morning.
We work in New York every single day. No one notices. We go to Mount Laurel. There's a picketing fan for Antoine Winfield.
He wanted a picture with Peter Shregs.
It's cold outside, too.
Ask him if he got that picture.
The Falcons going to have a home game? Who would they play against?
They would play against the 4 seed, which would be, they would host the Eagles, or the 5 seed. They would host
Imagine the Eagles go to Atlanta and lose. Atlanta. Wow.
Next up, let's talk about that game. Okay, Falcons-Saints. If the Bucs lose, we just talked about that aforementioned matchup. Where do you go for the NFC South title if the Falcons retain it?
I'm looking at these coaches, too. I have no confidence that those 2 owners are going to be like, you know what, you came up 1 game short, but if you win a division, you're likely safe for next year. Arthur Smith has been through the grind the last few weeks of stories about whether Arthur Blank is in his corner or not. You win a division, I think you're good. If you're the Saints, Dennis Allen's been there all this time as defensive coordinator. This is year number 2. They didn't make the playoffs last year. So I'm very interested to see the efforts that these 2 teams put in, because it might not just be what's going on in Tampa. It's also, hey, how are we performing in a must-win game?
And you're talking about both head coaches and their job security. And for Atlanta, who's going to be the quarterback? Heineke has an ankle injury that he's dealing with. He should be ready to go. Desmond Ridder. It's been a seesaw between those 2 guys going back and forth the entire game against Chicago last week. Ridder was the guy that finished the game. And then to your point, on the other side, Dennis Allen, Derek Carr has been his guy. They were the team that was favored to win the division. It's insane to think they win this game. They could possibly go back and be the winners of the NFC South.
I'll cede my time, all 2 seconds that I have. You had some FaceTime with with Coach Smith lately. What's his like? What's he like right now?
You know how the head coaches do. He's in the moment. But I will say Arthur was candid and honest with us about just how the season has gone.
Little frosty?
The quarterback position and trying to figure out a way to get that thing going. So you could tell he's a fiery guy, and you could see that passion. And then they went out there last Sunday. They didn't play well at all. So
that's because you were on the broadcast for Falcons-Bears last weekend. Let's talk Bears for this round. The Bears take on the Packers. Kyle has called it, the biggest game of the Bears, at least, history recently?
Well, they've had bigger games, but I think it's the biggest game of Justin Fields' career.
Justin Fields' career.
Yeah. And you know what? I'll make the case, James. Super Bowl 20, I was there. Patriots, Bears, New Orleans. I think this is a bigger game. I really do. I'm going to talk about this a lot today. The Packers, here the Packers, like we got to win this game. We're going to win the playoffs. And yet, why does it feel like it's bigger for the Bears? Justin Fields needs to have a day to determine his entire playoff future, his entire career future. Huge game.
Yeah, and from the Packers side of it, you have this amazing win on Sunday night. Everyone feels like, oh my God, Jordan Love had his best game of the season, and yet here we are again. I think we'll save some of the conversation for later in the show, but they lost last year, Week 18, against a team that was playing for nothing, the Detroit Lions. They lost at home in front of everyone.
Here we go.
Same exact scenario this year. Same coach, different quarterback, same coach.
Does history repeat itself? And to the Green Bay Packers, the last few weeks, they've been in this situation where they've had to continue to win, to continue to be in that conversation, and they have come up big, and it's been some of Jordan Love's best games. So I think it's an exciting time to be a Packers fan, because you think about it, at the beginning of the season, we're like, well, what is this Jordan Love guy going to be? And all of a sudden, he's a guy that is playing in the last game to get his team into the playoffs. But it is now time for Sunday Preview presented by DraftKings Sportsbook. Let's do it, baby. Let's take a look at the odds for a same-game parlay for that very same game, Bears and Packers. For the Packers, Jordan Love has 11 touchdowns in his last 5 games. Let's flip it over. On the Bears side, DJ Moore has over 150 receiving yards last week against Atlanta, was absolutely balling. And on the ground, the Packers